What's up, everybody? Welcome to Friday. I am Adam Kaufman. This is The Sweat. Of course, we have got a ton we're going to cover over the course of the next hour. We're going to be heavy on baseball because, look, it's mid-June. It's that time of the year. You do a lot of baseball right now with basketball gone and hockey gone. Of course, the U.S. Open Golf's Major is happening after a record-setting day. We'll explore, recap round one, look at round two, what's happening out west just outside of Los Angeles. We'll even get into a little bit of F1. So we'll be all over the place. We're going to begin, though, on the diamond for the first part of this show because, like I said, it's a hefty slate for Major League Baseball, and that's just what's interesting right now. So the guy that you are looking at right there, last year he was Cy Young, Sandy Alcantara. This year, not so good. The ERA is about 2 full runs higher. Obviously, strikeouts per 9 down. The whip, walks, hits per innings pitched, those are up. The record is terrible for Miami. Let's bring in our insiders, Gary Thorne and Steve Buchanan, DraftKings contributors. Guys, just real quick on Alcantara. Gary, how do you explain it? I mean, why the significant dip from what we saw last year?
I mean, we can talk about him a little bit later, too. But, look, this is someone who, coming into the season, you had to expect some regression. I don't think anyone was expecting this much regression. But, you know, he outpitched his peripherals last season by a pretty wide margin. And he's just someone who's not an elite strikeout pitcher. And at the end of the day, regardless of how good you are as a pitcher in the current version of baseball, if you cannot strike out at least a batter per inning, at some point you're going to leave yourself open to just unluckiness. You're going to leave yourself open to a low strand rate or a high BABIP or just... It's the way he pitches. The archetype of pitcher he is imperfect. And look, he's better than what the numbers suggest this season. Some of his ERA estimators are in the mid to high threes. That's perfectly fine. But he's not a guy who I think can pitch to a 2.2 ERA all that consistently just because he does not have that elite strikeout as a weapon.
Bukes, we're looking at MLB best bets on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Alcantara's on the mound today against Washington. Need a pitcher prop from you, just something that jumps out at you on the DK Sportsbook.
Yeah, just real quick, too. Gary, omitted the most important part. Don Mattingly tried to kill this man by having him pitch complete games like 9 times during the season, but whatever. Let's talk about Andrew Abbott going over 2.5 walks tonight against the Houston Astros. His control has been an issue in the early going since being called up from the minors so far this season. 7 walks through 11 and 2/3 innings since that call-up happened there. He's been struggling to place his off-speed pitches, and particularly his changeup, and those are pitches that he does rely upon a lot already. So you're getting him to go over 2.5 walks at -105. This is a number he's gone over twice already in his 2 starts. 4 walks in the first one, 3 in the last one. Let's make it at least 3 here again tonight.
Garen, spin it back to you.
Let's talk about Ric Flair's favorite starting pitcher in baseball, Brian Wu.
Oh my God.
Strikeout prop tonight, 5.5. He is going over this number against the Chicago White Sox. It's at even money, too, plus 100. I'm just in love with this spot. Wu has had some struggles. He's only had 2 major league starts. The first one did not go well, 6 earned runs in 2 innings. But even in that start, he struck out 4. He's got 11 strikeouts in just 6 2/3 innings, which lines up with his strikeout rate in the minors. He was striking out 34.3% of the batters he faced in his 9 starts at AAA this season. And this is just a fantastic matchup. The White Sox strike out a lot. In June, they have the 3rd highest strikeout rate in all of baseball. And the reason for that is they have the highest chase rate in baseball in the month of June at 38.7%. This is an entire lineup of hackers. They love chasing pitches outside the zone. Wu with that big fastball should be able to get 6 strikeouts tonight.
Gary, and I don't know if Wu's the guy, but how about a pitcher win prop?
So let's go back to Sandy. This is the night Sandy maybe gets on track a little bit.
Okay.
Washington has just been really bad in terms of their offense in the month of June. This was a team that does have some contact in the lineup, so occasionally, especially against left-handed pitching, they can string some hits together and put up some runs, but they have been really bad against right-handed pitching, and they just haven't been that good against Miami in general. They are just 6-20 in their last 26 games against the Marlins. Sandy only has 2 wins so far this season, but the Marlins in general are 9-3 in their last 12 games. They're trending in the right direction. He's got a 3.78 FIP this season. I think that's far more indicative of his actual talent level. I just think he gets a win tonight. I think the Marlins win pretty handily. And the one thing you know about Sandy, as Steve was saying, he's going to be in this game long enough to get a win. This is not someone who's going to pitch 4 2/3 innings.
They're
He's
trying to
throw
kill
like
him.
7.
A lot of nodding from you there, Bukes.
Yeah, I told you they're trying to kill him. I don't know what it is, like what blackmail they have against him or something, but whatever. They always trot him out there for like 9 innings and they don't care. I was shocked that Garion didn't go with this one. I had a backup just in case that he took it, but I'll take Zach Gallen to get the win tonight at plus 150. I mean, this is somebody who's been one of the better pitchers in the National League all season long. He has a win in 50% of the starts that he's made, 7 of the 14 on the year, but he almost always puts himself in a position to earn the win. He's thrown at least 5 innings in 12 of the 14 starts that he's made on the year. Going up against the Cleveland Guardians here tonight, ranked 29th against the fastball, 23rd against the curveball. Those are the 2 primary pitches that Gallen throws. So this could be a long night for those Guardians bats. But for him to get the win tonight at plus 150, that's a far cry from taking the Diamondbacks on the money line, which is at minus 155. So I like this one a lot for Gallen to earn the win.
All right, enough pitching talk unless you want to talk about guys that you just expect to get lit up by the ones doing damage. Garion, let's go back to you here. As far as a hitter prop, go wherever you want, total bases, whatever it is. Who's going to be successful at the plate?
Yeah, not generally my tactic to take just hits props. Usually prefer to take a total bases or a hits, RBIs, run prop, but Bo Bichette to go over 1.5 hits tonight is plus 130. Just in general, Bichette leads baseball in hits with 95. It's never a bad idea to try to attack a hits prop with Bo Bichette. But he is going up against Martin Perez tonight, who was terrible in his last outing, has not been great for the season as a whole, and is left-handed. That is key. Bichette leads all American League hitters with a 507 expected WOBA against Southpaws this season. This is like the perfect matchup for Bo Bichette. I don't know if you could create a pitcher in a laboratory who would be more susceptible to get beat up by Bo Bichette than Martin Perez.
Bukes?
Yeah, let's go with Bobby Witt Jr. to go over 1.5 bases tonight. You're getting that at even money. His overall numbers aren't all that appealing, but when you kind of scale that back and look at what he's done against lefties, that's where the appeal really comes. 375 WOBA against him, a 139 WRC plus, and he's been hitting well in the month of June. Has at least 1 hit in 9 of the 12 games that he's played during the month of June, and he's going up against Angel starter Patrick Sandoval, who's given up a lot more contact this year. This is somebody who, on the norm, would strike out over a batter an inning. His strikeout numbers are way down on the year, 6.7 K9. So that obviously means he's inducing a lot more contact overall. He's allowing the highest line drive rate of his career since entering the league in 2019. So getting Bobby Witt Jr. to go over 1.5 bases, getting that at even money, that's a really good odds there for tonight. So give me that one there.
Bukes, now the fun part, the dart throws, the dingers. Who's going yard tonight?
Oh, fun part. I thought the segment was over. Jack Sawinski to hit a home run at plus 310 going up against Julio Teheran. I think the jig is up here with Julio Teheran. I don't know why he's been pitching as well as he had, but I think this is the matchup here tonight that kind of ends it all. The Pirates are going to be loaded with left-handed bats. That's always been the kryptonite for Julio Teheran. You got Sawinski, already has 4 home runs this month through 10 games. All 15 home runs he's hit on the season have come against right-handed pitching. And we all know, like I mentioned, Julio Teheran, career horrible numbers against lefties, going up against a power back here like Sawinski at plus 310, giving him the homer tonight.
Gary, who are you looking at?
So all MLB announcers, be on your best behavior tonight because Nick Castellanos is hitting a home run. He is plus 475 to go deep tonight. JP Sears has pitched a little bit better lately for the Athletics. I mean, everything about the Athletics has been a little bit better lately, but he is still giving up 2.03 home runs per 9 to right-handed batters so far this season. Castellanos is red hot. The bat really looks like it's back to like the 2019, 2020 version of Nick Castellanos. And he's got a 152 WRC plus against left-handed pitching so far this season. I just think it's a really nice spot for him as a DFS play, but home run, about 5-1 odds. I'll take that every time.
Gary, and I'm looking at game totals, want to know which one jumps out at you. I will tell you as far as where the money is right now, looking at VSiN's numbers, of course, which is the DraftKings Sportsbook, 80% of the bet is on the over for the Orioles and Cubs, over 8. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, two high-scoring teams. You got Cole Irvin on the mound in that one, too. I'm actually going to go against one of your big betting philosophies of the 2023 season.
Let's hear it.
And that is I'm going to take the under in a Red Sox game.
Ooh.
Not something that happens all that often, to be fair. But Yankees-Red Sox, we just saw this series. And it was low. No one can score on these two teams. These are two pretty bad offenses at the end of the day. And the total is 9.5 for this game, and the under is plus 100. I cannot wrap my head around this. Tanner Houck has been terrible at Fenway. I understand that. But for the season, he's got a 3.86 expected ERA. He's fine. He's a league average pitcher. Domingo Germán in his last 7 starts has a 2.20 ERA, and he just shut down the Red Sox last week. The Yankees, in the month of June, the only team in baseball hitting below the Mendoza line. They have an AL worst 73 WRC plus the last 15 days. I don't know who's scoring all these runs to get to 10, but it's certainly not these two teams.
Bukes, which game total jumps out at you?
Yeah, I'm going to go over with the Angels and Royals. I mentioned Bobby Wood Jr. earlier. This one's at plus 100 to go over 9.5 runs. You know, the Royals aren't the worst team at hitting the over anymore. They're starting to kind of creep their way up the ranks. They've gone over their game total in 4 of their last 5 games, while the Angels have been one of the better teams at hitting the over on their game total, doing so 52% of the season. You look at this matchup we have here. I mentioned Patrick Sandoval already. Brady Singer going for the Royals has been just as bad as advertised. 6.58 ERA, an expected ERA of 6, and a 4.63 FIP. I think we get a lot of offense from both of these sides here tonight. Both sides, bullpens have been pretty shaky too as well. The Royals really all season long, but the Angels particularly been a little bit shaky as of late as well. So give me over 9.5 runs for those two teams tonight.
Favorite game bet from you, Bukes? Any chance it's the Phillies at close-ish to even money against Oakland?
Absolutely not. It's actually the other direction. Oakland first 5 money line tonight at even money. This is not because Oakland's been playing better as of late. They're going on the little win streak. They have their reverse boycott. Rob Manfred says he basically hates that whole organization in his comments yesterday. This is because J.P. Sears has literally been one of their best starters lately. And over the course of the past month, it feels like 5 straight games now, allowing no more than 2 runs and going at least 5 innings in 4 of those games. The Phillies are not a good hitting club against lefties. 314 WOBA, 95 WRC plus, and they strike out a ton. 25.7% strikeout rate against lefties on the year. I think this is the first time I've given a positive Oakland Athletics bet, but tonight's the night. Money line, first 5 innings at even money, I'll take that against Ranger Suarez.
In fairness, Bukes, you haven't had a lot of good reason to be pro-A's. What about you, Garion?
I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. Shane McClanahan and the Rays are basically even money on the money line tonight. It's the best team in baseball against arguably the most disappointing team in baseball in the Padres. Look, I think there's still reason to fear this Padres lineup. They've started to hit some home runs in the top of that order lately, but the Rays are 12-2 when Shane McClanahan starts this season. And again, they're just minus 110 on the money line. When you get those sort of odds on the Rays this season, I just think you have to bet them, almost like blindly.
Guys, thank you both very much. A lot of good knowledge there out of both Bukes and Gary. And we're not done with baseball. We're going to do much more of it DFS when we come back. But we're going to step aside. Renowned NBA skills coach Chris Brickley joined Emerson Latzia to offer, obviously, all sorts of thoughts on basketball, but even give Emerson a free tutelage, which, I mean, how great is that?
Oh, boy. All right, bring it in, people, because right now we are joined by renowned NBA skills coach and trainer Chris Brickley. Welcome to the show, my guy. You are looking very handsome in that DraftKings hoodie.
I know. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I actually wish I could be there in Boston with you, but I'm here in New York.
Yeah, me too, especially you being a born and raised New England guy. You should be on this desk with me.
Yeah, facts.
Hey, listen, former college hooper at Louisville, former coach. What the hell led you down this path to training some of the best basketball players on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, so I started off just like any kid at NBA dreams. Um, Went to Trinity High School in New Hampshire, was on a top 25 team. My first stop was actually in Boston at Northeastern. Played there my freshman year. Transferred to Louisville. Me and Coach Pitino got real close. Decided I wanted to get into coaching. Got into coaching. I was the youngest Division I assistant coach in the country. Then I was with the Knicks on staff. Became really cool with Carmelo. And then I'm like, I think I can start my own business. So I left the Knicks, started my own business, and here I am.
Yeah, here you are, highly successful. You've recently worked with Jimmy Butler. What have your conversations been like with him since Miami's disappointing end to the season?
Yeah, that was definitely disappointing. Obviously, you want to go out as a champion, but he played, I mean, the 8 seed, taking his team to the finals. I think everything's still settling for him. But we talked briefly, and we just talked summer plans, and he's like, I'm going to get back here next year.
Yeah, what would you say, Chris, is his legacy after his second finals loss here? Because the guy says he doesn't care about being a Hall of Famer, but we do. I know you do.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't. And that's like, so before working with him, I would hear stuff. And then he really doesn't want to be an all-star. He does not care about being a Hall of Famer. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He truly wants to win. I've never worked with a player that, some players say it, but then when you're around them, they're like, oh man, I want to be an all-star. Like, he really doesn't care about that stuff. So it's been fun working with him, and we've actually became like really close friends.
And Chris, like, some people looked at him during the finals and said, oh man, like something seems off. And yeah, maybe it's all that extra damn basketball he's been playing. How much more of a physical toll does postseason, does playoff basketball take on these guys?
Man, it's crazy. It's like 2 months. It's almost like a third of the season. Yep. Playing every other day, the travel, and Jimmy really turned it up in the playoffs. So his load with the minutes was a lot. And Jimmy's not a player that just plays offense; he plays defense and offense. So he gave it his all. I feel like once the finals came along, there's only so much one person can do. But he had a great series, and like I said, he's going to come back next year. Same thing.
What is it about your approach and style that has made you so successful, that brings guys like Jimmy to you? You can reveal your secret to success right now, and I promise you we will not tweet it out.
Nah, I think just preparing, just understanding the player, understanding the situation. Every single player is different. Every situation is different. You got to figure out what motivates the player. What motivates Jimmy? It's winning. He doesn't funny story, I've never actually said this story. So when I first start working with a guy, I'll ask him, what are their goals? What do you want to get better at? And I remember we're in the car. I'm like, so what do you want to get better at? What are some of your goals with your game? He's like, just, ask Coach Spoelstra that. Like, I just want the team to win. I have no personal goals. I've never heard a player say that. Yeah. And so that was really interesting. So just figuring out what motivates the player. That's the key.
I think that's why he's been such a great fit in what everyone knows as Heat culture there. Like, it's a real thing down in Miami. So besides Jimmy Butler here, Chris, give me a dude you've linked up with who really impressed you once you got into the gym with him. And I'm talking either skill or dedication to the game.
As of recent, I would say Trey Murphy. So,
okay.
He's not a big name, but rookie year, I think he averaged 5 points a game. Second year, he averaged like 15 a game. He was almost a 90, 50, 40 guy. In the gym, he doesn't miss. I feel like if he was on another team, he could be like a starter and like a really he could bring value to a lot of teams. But that was one guy that super surprised me.
Your roster of players you've worked with is long. Who is not on it that you wish was?
So this is an interesting story I've never shared before. 2017, I leave the Knicks and full time with Carmelo. And Giannis's brother, TA, he was on the G League for the Knicks. And Giannis comes up to me. He's like, hey, would you want to come to Vegas to work out with me and my brother? And that was the summer with the hoodie Melo stuff. And I just couldn't leave Melo. So I told TA, I can't do it. Looking back, it would be amazing to work with Giannis.
Okay.
So,
all right. What is that process like, though, Chris? Like when it comes to choosing who to work with, it sounds like that was a tough decision for you.
For sure. I think at this point, I have my core group. I have, Donovan Mitchell, Paulo, CJ McCollum, Cole Anthony, Jimmy Butler. I might be missing a few.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
But I have the core group, and this summer I'll be adding Ben Simmons. And so, each summer I try and add 1 or 2 guys, and that's kind of how I go about it.
Yeah, I know Ben Simmons, is a guy who catches a lot of flack as well. When you're with some of these guys, I mean, how much of what you do is physical, and then how much of what you do is also mental with these guys and the mental part of the sport?
I would say 50-50. I would say 50% of it is, because you go to the gym with most of these guys, they don't miss shots. Like it's going to be 18 for 20 every time they go to a spot. Even the players that fans don't think are good shooters, and you go to the game and they don't shoot as well. And so everything is mental. So I feel like just the conversations we have, as I've gotten deeper in the training game, players have told me, like, well, when I'm working with you, I'm thinking about the other players you've worked with, and that helps my confidence. So it's like all these interesting things that go into it.
The DraftKings Sportsbook looking at odds for next season. Nuggets are favored at plus 475. The Celtics, all right, that was your childhood team, second at plus 550. Who is Chris Brickley's early pick for NBA champion next year?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to go with. All right, so I don't know. There's no facts to this.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I think Dame's gonna be on the Heat.
Ooh.
And I got the Heat winning. I got Jimmy and Dame taking it.
Oh, damn. Okay, so that's not music to the ears of Celtics fans, Chris. And you growing up in New England, I'm assuming that Boston has a small piece of your heart?
For sure, big piece.
All right, how soon until that group in Boston, the Celtics, how soon until they can put it together and seal the deal and actually lift Banner 18 into the rafters?
This is how I feel about the situation. I want Jaylen Brown to be on a different team. I want him to show. I feel like if he get him away from Tatum, he can really show his game. I feel like he's in a box a little bit. Get Jaylen Brown out of there. Tatum, this is your team. Surround him with the right pieces, and then I think they're on their way.
I mean, why haven't Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown been able to win one together yet, Chris?
It's tough. They've had a few different coaches.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's just tough delegating. Tatum, it's your time to shoot. Brown, it's your time to shoot. One of the players isn't going to be happy. Like, it's just tough balancing 2 players that are that good.
All right, well, Jason Tatum, been knocking on the door to superstardom forever. And before you get out of there, and speaking of elite basketball players, I need you to really focus on the screen right now, because I need you to break down a short video of me
Okay.
shooting the basketball here. Now, I hit up a court in the South End this week. First time
Can we rewind it?
Absolutely.
Can we rewind that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm just giving you a little background info here. First time putting up shots in like more than 3 years. So,
Nice layup.
so Michael on the ones and twos. I don't know. Can we start this over one more time for Chris? He needs to see it from the top. Now.
Oh, wow. You actually have a good follow through.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. And I'm more of a clang and banger like on the inside. We're going to start it over for you one more time. So
All right,
here we are.
Your first 3 dribbles, they're above your waist. We got to keep the dribble low. You have a nice follow through. I can tell you need to work on your dribbling a little bit. So on that shot, you need to extend your elbow.
Okay.
Nice reverse layup. I got to see your left hand though.
All right, yeah.
Let me see.
I have a pretty bad left hand. I'm like Jaylen Brown.
And then you have a nice guide hand. So someone taught you how to shoot, because you actually have really good form. You have a good follow through. You have a good guide hand. We just got to work on your handle.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, again, in my defense, while athletic, I'm not necessarily an athlete. I'm usually in there cleaning up the boards, but I do feel like something is there, and you just made my head balloon 3 times its size, because you didn't necessarily destroy me like I thought you would.
No, you get your hand underneath the ball. You flick your wrist. Your guide hand is straight. You actually have really good form. I just feel like you need to get some more reps up. When I come out to Boston, we'll get to the.
This is why I love you. Who would you say my pro comparison would be?
I would say Draymond Green.
Oh, okay. I will take that. I'm 6th man of the year material.
Sure.
Dude, thank you so much for the training session, Chris. You are the man. I will be playing again on Tuesday. I will definitely implement all of your recommendations there and your coaching. Your job here is done. Thank you for hanging with us at DraftKings, man. Seriously, you're the best.
Thanks, man. I'll see you soon.
So look, I know Emerson was kind of peacocking around after the kind words from Chris Brickley. I'll give Emerson credit, though, for at least including the air ball in the footage. He could have edited that out. Top price DFS hitters for tonight, Friday, June 16th. Also my brother's birthday. He's not watching. Who cares? DraftKings contributor Tanner Kern, RotoWire's Eric Halterman join us for some best DFS plays on the MLB slate. Obviously, you were just taking a look at some good ones, Tanner. Let's start in the batter's box. Best infielder over $4,500.
So I'm going to go with Ozzie Albies for $4,800. Coming off a 3-for-4 night against the Rockies. In his past 3 games, he's 6 of 10 with 2 doubles, a homer, and 4 RBIs. He's looked really good. And he should have some good matchups tonight, especially against Danielson Lamet of the Colorado Rockies, who just simply hasn't been good. I recommend stacking Atlanta against Colorado because of this pitching matchup here. When you look at Lamet, 1-3 with a 10.38 ERA in 21 innings of work. He's actually been worse on the road, which is crazy to think about because at home in Coors Field elevation, you'd think he would be worse there. But 14 hits, 12 runs in 8.2 innings of work on the road. If he makes a mistake, Acuna will take it. Albies will take advantage of it. Acuna will take advantage of all of these guys will, and that's why I like Ozzie Albies at $4,800.
Eric, who jumps out at you?
Yeah, let's go with a guy who's been slumping a bit lately. That's Nolan Gorman. He's run into a few strikeouts of the past week or so, but a guy who I don't think is going to strike him out is today's starter for the Mets, Tyler McGill, who is just having a very rough season. McGill, 5.14 ERA, looks quite deserved according to the ERA estimators, striking out 17% of opposing batters, walking 12%. And Nolan Gorman has really had that breakout early on this season, and I think most of that is real. The strikeouts are back up. He's around 30% with his strikeout rate, but he hits the ball incredibly hard. About a 15% barrel rate has put him on pace for 35 homers. I think this is the game where he bounces back and pulls out of a slump. I'd like to include him alongside a few other Cardinals against Tyler McGill here.
Guys, I'm not going to lie. I thought Jose Ramirez might get a little bit of love from you. He didn't. That's fine. So as we look infielder under $3,500, and Eric, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay in the same game. Josh Bell. Any Josh Bell love?
Maybe. I appreciate your recommendations. We can give you a segment too.
I don't want a segment. I just want to mindlessly throw things in.
Yeah, well, my mindless throw in here, well, I'll put a bit of mine to it. My favorite cheap infielder is Donovan Solano at 2,400 of the Twins. Very boring player, just hits 286, some power, but not a ton, only 2 homers. His hard hit rate suggests that he's hitting the ball kind of hard, and he strikes out about an average amount. But what makes Donovan Solano interesting is that he should bat in the top third against a lefty. Tyler Alexander, ERA north of 5, looks quite deserved for him. And it's just key to get some of these boring guys in good lineups, in good lineup position. I think that's key to rounding out a roster, especially, again, take a look for teams that are facing weak lefties. There's often going to be some weak righties like Solano. He's actually been on enough of a run lately that he's starting against some righties as well. It might also be due to some injuries in Minnesota. But just as a general key and as a specific point, take a look for lineups facing weak lefties. Take a look at some of those part-time righties like Solano who are boring but perfectly capable. And that's all you need to justify 2,400.
Tanner, where are you going for a cheap infielder?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Jose Abreu for $3,100. When you look at what he's done over the past week, it's been pretty impressive. He's 9 of 27, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. He's doing everything right. The strikeout numbers are still a little high with him, but the power upside is huge. And he's going to face Andrew Abbott, who's been really good, but I think he's due for some regression. Only thrown 11.2 innings this season. Actually has not given up a run yet. He is 2-0, but still, I like the regression here. And if he gets out of this game early, I do like the matchup for Abreu against this bullpen. So going to hope he can stay hot like he has been over the past week and play a cheap value there for $3,100.
So the reason I shouldn't have a segment, Tanner, is because I'm looking at outfielders over $4,500, and I'll be honest, I don't like anybody, so change my mind.
So I absolutely love Ronald Acuna Jr. for $6,600. How can you not love Ronald Acuna? He's been sensational. He's second in baseball in batting average this season at 331, third in OPS with 979. He also has 15 homers and 45 RBIs on the season, top 15 in both those categories. He's been that good, and it doesn't really matter who pitches, but I love the matchup tonight, especially against Lamet for Colorado. I talked about Lamet. I believe you should stack against him tonight just because he hasn't been that good. I don't need to read the stats again, but the bottom line is he's worse on the road than he is at home. And if that's the case for a Colorado pitcher, I want to bet against them every single day of the week. The Braves are going to hit tonight. There's going to be a lot of turnover in this lineup, and I think it's going to benefit Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, they should rake today. Good day on the Braves. Team total over. Eric, who do you like?
Let's go with Brian Reynolds against Julio Teheran and the Brewers. Brian Reynolds, very solid hitter. We've seen what he can do for several years. Nothing special, maybe not quite the true inner circle star, but a completely legitimate leading bat, one I'd be happy to pay up for. But it's really the matchup against Julio Teheran that is doing it for me here. And I know that Julio Teheran has a 1.48 ERA, but man, I don't think he's going to keep that up for much more than 4 starts. The guy is averaging 89.7 miles per hour with his fastball. He had only had 1 start in the big leagues from 2021 and 2022. He looks very much over the hill. All his underlying numbers looks shaky as well, except for, I guess, his walk rate. He's not walking guys, but he's not striking out anybody, and he never really did. I think this ERA is going to shoot up fast, and it might even be a game against the Pirates of all teams that does it.
See, Eric, now I'm mad. If I was going to pick a guy, that was the guy I was going to pick. So, all right, good. You've made me feel a little bit better about it. How about an outfielder under $3,500?
Yeah, there's a couple. I'm looking at Jordan Walker, maybe against Tyler McGill, although I already talked about why I want to go against Tyler McGill. So let's give you Jesus Sanchez of the Marlins. He'll be facing Trevor Williams in this one, who is the kind of pitcher that I'm very happy to stack against. Trevor Williams, maybe not the absolute worst on the slate, but absolutely below that bar where I'm happy to use plenty of hitters against them. Jesus Sanchez has really been on a tear. He's now slugging over 500. Strikes out a bit too much, but he hits the ball hard, and that should be enough to justify a very cheap price against a guy like Trevor Williams.
All right, let's keep it with you. Let's go pitcher over 8K. Who do you like?
Joe Ryan is near the top of the list today, 10.6 thousand, but I'm a big fan of Joe Ryan this season. I think he's developing into a legitimate frontline starter. He had more strikeouts early in the season. He set a few games recently where he wasn't striking out a ton of guys. At 3 of his last 4 starts, only 3 strikeouts. So maybe that worries you that he won't have a huge day here, but there were some good lineups that he was facing there. The Blue Jays in his last start, Cleveland the time before that.
All right, Tanner, I think we've temporarily lost our guy, Eric, or maybe he's come back out of the unfrozen dimension there. We'll find out. Either way, Tanner, we go back to you here. Over 8K for a pitcher. Any Yu Darvish love by any chance?
I like you, Darvish, tonight. I do, but I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to take Zach Gallen for $10,200. Gallen's been really good. The past 5 starts have not necessarily gone his way every single time he's taken the bump, but how can you not love him? 7-2 with a 3 ERA, 1.15 WHIP, an elite strikeout ability, 93 and 84 innings. When you look at the Guardians offense, that's the biggest reason to play Gallen tonight. They're batting just .244 off righties. They've only homered 7 times in 1,649 plate appearances. So even if Gallen makes a mistake tonight, I still don't see Cleveland able to convert on these opportunities. They're not going to convert them into homers. And even if Gallen gets in trouble, his strikeout ability is good enough to get him out of trouble against the Cleveland team that's one of the worst offenses in baseball. So love Gallen tonight. High price, but worth taking.
Eric, we will go back to you. We've got you back. A pitcher under 8K. I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Gary and Thorne in the last segment, who loved himself some Brian Wu. Is that a guy that I could interest you in?
Unsurprisingly, Gary and I think very similarly. I love Brian Wu here. Gotta love recommending a guy who has an ERA north of 10. But, you know, it's been 2 starts, and a lot of the underlying numbers in those 2 starts were fine. He's striking guys out and not walking guys, I guess, is what I mean by that. And he was quite good in the minors. Granted, it was just AA, but a 34% strikeout rate against a 7% walk rate in his 9 starts, leading to a 2.05 ERA for Brian Wu. I think he just got knocked around in his big league debut, and that happens. And that doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad pitcher. I don't know if he's as exciting as some of the other rookies that have debuted this season, but there's much more than enough to clear that, was it 5,400 bar for him? He's a more interesting pitcher than that, especially against an unimposing opponent like the White Sox.
5,400 is correct. Cheap play for Brian Wu at the top of that board. How about you, Tanner? Pitcher under 8K.
Yeah, give me the old man, Rich Hill, for $6,700. Done just under 18 fantasy points in his past 10 starts. He's actually looked really, really good over his past 2 as well. Just 3 earned runs in his past 13.2 innings of work. He's going to face the Brewers tonight. Not the best offense in the world, and they are atrocious off lefties, batting just .216 with a .292 OBP. So Hill has a lot of good matchups tonight. And when you look at the Brewers too, they're really not even that good off righties. So it's just overall not a great lineup. Batting .234 with a .310 OBP from the other side. Hill can still deal for his age. I mean, the strikeout ability is there. He's nearly doing 1 per inning, and he's been very effective. He knows how to pitch, and that's something we don't see in today's game. It's really helped him be successful this year, and I like him to get the job done tonight.
Tanner, Eric, a lot of great stuff. Thank you so much for hopping on. Good job, and good luck with your lineups, really, more than anything else tonight. So hockey's done. We're going to take a little break from that. Basketball's done. We and John Moran, he's going to take a much longer break. He's been suspended 25 games. But we don't want to totally ignore those 2 sports, especially down in Miami, where you had the 8-seed Heat, the 8-seed Panthers reach the championship round, and both fall short of a title. How's our guy Le Batard and friends? How are they holding up down there? Let's find out.
Before we get to what it is that I'm assuming America wants from this show today, which is tears, I will just tell you, at this point in my life, in my mid-50s, dealing with real hard away from here, I am so damn grateful for the last 2 months of crazy distraction that has been sports in this market. And I don't want to soil that with, Jimmy Butler, you're a bum. Kachuk, why couldn't you play through the sternum, through the fractured sternum in Game 5 so that it wouldn't end 9-3. I know you want tears here, but it's really hard to get. Only one team in both the sports got to where Miami got, and they both got there at the same time, and they gave us just so much fuel over the last 2 months that I'm super grateful for it.
So you're fine with second place? You're fine with being a runner-up?
Yes.
In both sports?
Yes.
We went through all that, stayed up every night, watched every game. It wasn't every 2 nights off because one team was making a run. It was every damn night because both teams were making a run.
And it was all magical.
Right.
It was all of it was great because I didn't expect any of it. None of it. What did they say about the corny thing about love? Like, I'm happy that I had it, man. I'm not sad that it's gone. I'm happy that I ever had it.
Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
No, that's not the saying. Is it's better to have loved than lost than to have never loved at all.
Dance like nobody's
Bingo.
watching.
I think he combined 2 cliches.
Yeah.
Don't cry because it's over. Laugh because Miami lost 2 championships in 2 consecutive nights after being the loudest gas bags this entire postseason over teams that they didn't even believe in to begin with during the regular season.
That's what made it so magical.
Well
That's the
said.
saying.
Yep.
That should be the saying. Jessica is radiant. She is beaming.
We are back here on The Sweat, a little more than halfway home. We welcome in Pierce Dietrich. Now, normally, Pierce, we'd be chatting NASCAR with you. There's no NASCAR this weekend, but we'll stay on the track. We'll just go F1. We'll look at something a little bit different, the F1 Canadian Grand Prix. So back on North American soil, which is exciting. Verstappen is the favorite here, heavy favorite on the betting board, as a matter of fact. But of course, DraftKings has DFS, Daily Fantasy Contest, for F1 as well. Verstappen, he's the favorite to win, but do you have to have him in your captain spot when building out a lineup? Because, my God, man, $22,200 for Max, that's a lot of money.
It is, and it hasn't worked out this season. He has 5 wins, and in those 5 wins, he was in the winning lineup. But he has not once been in the captain spot. So I think you got to follow that trend, and it makes a lot of sense. He's just too expensive, and there's not a lot of places to save money. You still roster him, but it's just not going to work in the captain spot. You got to go a little bit cheaper. You got to find someone who's a little bit more efficient. Roster Max, of course, but no captain's pick.
All right, same deal with Red Bull for your constructor spot here. Now, they've got every win, 3 double podiums, so paying up or saving some cash is obviously what we need to debate. Mercedes hit the double podium last week, improving after some car changes, just the 4th highest price. Who's the team pick for you?
Yeah, it's the same situation with Red Bull. You just can't afford them. Early in the season, the first 3 weeks, they were in the winning lineup, but you had softer salaries in week 1, and then you also had 2 Checo Perez street course wins, so that helped make Red Bull work. But the last 3 races, all Verstappen wins. You couldn't afford Red Bull, and I think Verstappen's more likely going to win again. You're not going to be able to afford Red Bull. As you mentioned, Mercedes made some upgrades, and it's really starting to pay off, but we've seen their salaries go up. If you can afford Mercedes, that's great, but where I'm looking is Alpine. They finished last season as probably one of the best mid-pack teams. Alonso's gone, but now Pierre Gasly and Ocon seem to be working well together. They're rolling off tons of top 10s. They may not score a bunch of points, but they're on the cheaper side, so Alpine would be where I'm looking so that can fit in Verstappen.
So it's not just DFS, it's not just DK Sportsbook. There's news we like to delve into a little bit here as well. Red Bull's been dominating on the track. We know that. We've talked about it. Also making some headlines as a lot of talk, maybe pressure for Sergio Perez. He's fallen back a little bit behind Verstappen. People are wondering if he's the right guy for that second Red Bull car. With his contract coming up, what's the future of Sergio Perez?
He's not going anywhere. They do these rumors every single season. The F1 media is just, they need something to talk about because Max is just dominating the sport and everybody else is just doing what they're supposed to do. They need to find a story. And Sergio, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do as well. I mean, he's not going to beat Max. He's not supposed to beat Max. And yeah, he didn't have the greatest race last week, or 2 weeks ago, because he made a mistake in qualifying, but when he went out to the race, he actually was fine at Spain. So I don't think that Perez is going anywhere. I think he's a perfect fit for this team. Very rarely you're going to find a talented driver like this that's willing to be second fiddle, that's willing to, defer to his teammate, and they've got that in Perez. Unless someone wants to give him a big-time deal, I just don't see him moving.
I could tell you didn't think he was going to go anywhere when your eyes literally rolled out of your head when I mentioned pressure on him with his contract coming up. Over on the DraftKings Sportsbook, though, Piers, how about a driver or team prop that you're looking at?
So going back to Alpine, a double top 10, which I think they definitely can do. You look at Ocon's got top 10 in his last 3 races, and mechanical failures early in the season, penalties in the first race of the year kind of slowed him down, but over the last 3, he's really going in the right direction. His teammate Pierre Gasly, in his first year with the team, he's got a top 10 in 5 of 7 races. So like I mentioned earlier, Alpine really was, for my money, the best mid-pack team last year. There was some questions coming into this season after losing Alonso and bringing in Gasly, but they seem to be right back at it. They made some mechanical upgrades. Their cars look fast, and putting them both in the top 10 doesn't seem like much of a stretch to me.
Okay, so you said that you would not put Verstappen in your captain spot for DFS, but when it comes to betting, is he the guy you're picking to win?
Yeah, I would pick him to win. I don't know if I necessarily would take the bet just because the odds aren't going to pay you that much. So one that I would look at, because we are expecting some weather in Canada, I wouldn't take George Russell straight up under normal conditions. But as you mentioned earlier, Mercedes upgrades have boosted this team. I don't think he can beat Max, but if there is rain in the forecast, which there is, and there's a chance that George Russell, I think he's at plus 2,200. I wouldn't mind taking a chance on that. Max, I just don't think the odds are very attractive. He's likely going to win. He probably can still win in the rain, but there's a chance if it gets kind of sloppy and messy that maybe the Mercedes come through.
Piers, thank you so much, man. We're going to let you go. We are going to stay here, though, and continue our conversation before we get out of here. Talk a little golf. U.S. Open, of course, golf's major. It began yesterday, and just an incredible day. Let's bring in Jeff Ulrich. Moose is here to chat about all things U.S. Open, looking back on round 1 and looking ahead to round 2 as well. Round one of the U.S. Open is in the books. Round two underway in Los Angeles. But as you look at the leaderboard for round one, that's record-setting. Record-setting performances, not only the average for the first round, but those two guys right at the top. The 62, my God, 8 under par for Ricky Fowler, did it earlier. Xander Schauffele said, ho-hum, I can do that too. And yet you still have a slew of guys that are within reach of trying to obviously win this thing and a whole lot of tournament to go. Let's bring in DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich. There he is. Moose, good to see you. Just looking back on what we saw in round one, you and I were chatting a bunch about this. It was something that was so unforeseen, so unprecedented, obviously, with respect to this tournament. There's no way it could continue in the afternoon, yet so many guys had great afternoons as well. It wasn't just the morning wave. Any chance that the USGA somehow finds a way to make this more difficult going forward?
Oh, for sure they're going to. I mean, that's what they do. They do that. We've seen it before at U.S. Opens where the scoring has been moderately tough, and then it just gets ramped up to extreme on the weekends. The green speeds can increase, and we've already seen too. I mean, like the course is playing 160 yards longer today. A couple of the holes are playing like 40 yards longer. 17's playing like 550 yards, or 16, excuse me. So. That it's going to get tougher. It already looks like tougher scoring out there, to be honest. And, they probably set up the course a little bit too easy. In a lot of ways, you can kind of understand why. If you come out and you set it up too hard, it's hard to dial it back, but it's a little bit easier to let things go the other way, letting the greens dry out a little bit more and things like that. So, yeah, it was unprecedented. I get why people are upset. It's the U.S. Open. I want to see a tough test of golf too, but at the same time, like a lot of the top players didn't play that well. Like a lot of the top players did struggle with this course. Cantlay, Spieth, Brooks, all over par. It's not playing quite as easy as Twitter would probably think it is. They think it is.
Well, Twitter experts always, man. I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. Like I said, Ricky and Xander are at the top, but they don't tee off for several hours at this point. Wyndham Clark has picked up a stroke. He's moved to 7 under right now. DJ's off to a little bit slower a start today. Rory obviously hasn't teed off yet. And then you got Harman and Harris and so on. You get guys that are like 5 shots off the lead.
DJ just made an 8, so it's slow start is putting it lightly. He may be done.
So who stood out to you yesterday before we kind of really jump into today?
I think the obvious. I mean, look, obviously Xander and Ricky stand out, but I mean, other than them, Wyndham Clark is a player who grabbed his first win and it was a big win against an elite field. This dude has all the skill in the world. He's big off the tee. He's a really high-end putter, and his approach game and around the green game have both taken ticks up. He looks like a complete player right now, and I don't think he's going to go away necessarily gently into the night. You're going to see him stick around for a little bit. He is in a really good position right now. But, other than him, I mean, a couple guys lurking at -3 who had good rounds, Bryson and Siwoo Kim. A couple guys I liked pre-event. Certainly we've seen more good play from them. Bryson at a U.S. Open course, again, just dominating off the tee. It's always going to be a good setup for Bryson here at the U.S. Open. And then I think the other big story is just Scottie Scheffler gained strokes putting. That's what we're all waiting for. He only shot 3 under. It doesn't look that great because of what the other guys did, but there's only 2 players at 8 under. I mean, it's not going to take that much for Scottie Scheffler to gain. So really, really, looking like in a dangerous spot right now for Scottie Scheffler, especially if the putting momentum keeps up.
Some of the bigger names, Brooks and Cantlay, they went 1 over. Spieth, Hideki, 2 over. Do you expect these guys to bounce back today?
I expect a couple of them, but I do think that this course is a little bit quirky, and I think that some of the top players struggled with it just because of the setup. And, if you're not bringing, as easy as it looked out there with a couple guys shooting -8, if you were a little bit wild off the tee here, or just weren't hitting your spots on approach, like there is trouble to get into. I mean, there's trouble off the tee on a couple spots where you hit it into the rough, you have almost no choice but to lay up or potentially, hit it into another bad spot. So, unless some of those top players, start to just improve a little bit off the tee, like Jordan Spieth wasn't great off the tee. Cantlay was kind of just bad everywhere. I think that a couple players will bounce back. I think Brooks Koepka will probably find it today. It's a U.S. Open. He started slow at the PGA. It's not like he hasn't been here before. So I expect Brooks to bounce back. I think you'll probably see a couple other names. I think Adam Scott finished his round well, too. That's another guy I expect to make a push for the cut. But These guys are also far back right now, and it's a little bit different than we saw at the PGA. So I'd be wary of jumping on them for an outright or something like that. But I do think that you'll see a couple guys like Brooks, maybe Scott, play better today for sure.
So in mentioning Adam Scott, you're jumping ahead on me a little bit. I want to take people behind the scenes, a live look at the Jeff Ulrich, the Moose betting card, and guys that you were really high on going into this tournament. We'll show the people here. So Jordan Spieth, Cam Smith, Bryson DeChambeau, Siwoo Kim, Mito Pereira, Adam Scott. Scott, obviously, not a great start. As we know, a couple of those guys could use some record-setting performances today. You going to double down? You going to hedge on anyone, Jeff? What's the play?
I mean, look, Bryson and Siwoo Kim, certainly still guys I'm pretty bullish on. I mean, you can get them at good odds, too, available in the live odds. We'll talk about that in a sec. But those two guys started well. I'm pretty confident that you're going to see more continuation. They struck it extremely well. Cam Smith and Jordan Spieth, I'm not going to lie, I wish I had put Rory McIlroy where Jordan Spieth was right now. But, the plus 3,000 odds were just too tempting with Spieth. Cameron Smith's still in an okay position, but Spieth is a guy who, again, he had some wrist issues. He just didn't look very good striking the ball yesterday. So I'm not going to hold out hope that Jordan Spieth turns it around. That one just looks like a little bit of regret for me. Adam Scott, though, again, we targeted him in the top 20 and matchup department. I really would not be shocked if he turned it around today, and maybe someone to look at for matchups. He ended his round really well. He had a terrible opening. We have seen this before from Adam Scott, though, where he has a bad opening and he comes back and he just finds it. So I really wouldn't be shocked if he made a push for the cut. That's kind of one of my bold calls today, that Adam Scott will make the cut. But again, it doesn't look good on paper for him to start like that. But again, we're targeting him for a little bit different kind of bets, too, with the top 20 and matchup department. So still live there.
So round two, who's a guy that you are looking at to make a run as maybe a leader bet specifically in this round? And look, everything happens quick. You have Xander, you have Ricky. Like I said, they don't tee off for quite a while. DJ about a half hour ago was plus 700. He's plus 3,500 now. So life comes at you fast. Who do you like?
Yeah, and I mean, Rory McIlroy just made a bogey. Brian Harmon started off one over. I mean, again, like, you've got to look at what the scoring is happening on the course here. I mean, it's probably going to be one of Ricky or Xander leading after round two. It just looks like there's not going to be as many birdies out there today. If I was going to pick one player, I would probably look to the afternoon wave right now and maybe take a shot with Scottie Scheffler at plus 2,000. Again, he gains strokes putting. We have seen Scottie Scheffler start a little bit behind in tournaments and really notch it up as the tournament goes on here. I think with some of the other top players from the morning now struggling too, he's going to see this as a bit of an opportunity. So if you're looking far back here, again, this is not necessarily a market I'd be willing to dive too hard into. You've got two guys with a pretty solid lead right now, but certainly Scottie Scheffler could do it. He's that high end a player, but I'm also might just take the plus money on Ricky Fowler. I mean, he's plus 240 versus Xander. They're both at 8 under, excuse me. I really don't think that that's a horrible target for you either. I mean, Xander's certainly, a more consistent higher end player in the U.S. Opens, but I'm not sure if the difference between those two should be that big with Xander at plus 150 and Ricky at plus 240.
You mentioned the afternoon. Let's go to the afternoon. Do you have a favorite matchup bet at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Some matchups that popped off the board here. So, I mentioned Bryson off the top. I mean, I certainly don't hate targeting him. You can look to Bryson. He's got Tyrrell Hatton in a matchup bet on DraftKings. Hatton really didn't start that well. And Hatton is a guy in majors. He either jives with the course or he doesn't. We have seen him numerous times just come to a course, not feel it, and just leave early. I'm just not super bullish on him turning it around. He's certainly been playing well, but +4 is quite a ways back here. And if the scoring gets worse, I'm just not sure if he's necessarily going to be in the mood to turn it around. Bryson, on the other hand, looked really good. I think there's actually still room for Bryson to even just dial up his approaches a little bit. Drilling it off the tee, the putter was there. I have no reason to fade Bryson right now. And another bet down there, Max Homa. You can get Max Homa versus Colin Morikawa. Max Homa played really well yesterday, gaining strokes putting, gained strokes on approach. Colin Morikawa really struggled. I really like that matchup bet for Max Homa there. I'd take him at -105.
All right, running out of time, but I want to make sure we get this one in, Jeff. We're just winning odds. You can find a lot of value in the early rounds in live betting. Who do you like right now?
Man, I mean, again, it's a strange situation with two guys up near the top, big leads, but I do think that, if you're looking further back, I wouldn't go too far back. I think -1, -2 would be the cutoff. I mentioned Max Homa. He had a nice start. He's at -2. We've seen him be able to go low on all different sorts of courses, tough courses, easier courses. He's at plus 3,500. I really do not hate that. Siwoo Kim also plus 4,500. I think just being a little bit underrated. He's played extremely well. We know Siwoo Kim can handle himself. Those are two guys further back in the odds I would take a look at. And again, shout out to Bryson here. Scotty Scheffler at plus 600 isn't much bigger than he was pre-event. So I think that the safe bet is to get on Scotty Scheffler. I think if you're looking for guys a little bit further back, I'd look to Homa or Siwoo Kim.
Moosey on the slate today?
Yes.
All right, much more golf talk with Moose, Matt LaMarca on the slate this afternoon. Make sure you check it out. Thanks so much to all of our guests, all the great insights. Go back, watch this show, help you out betting, make your lineups for DFS as well. Want to thank everyone over here, behind the scenes part of this show. Drew, Hoff, Howie, Undercover Boss, Tom, even Samir. Thank you all so much. I'm Adam Kaufman. We will be back not Monday, but Tuesday with the Tuesday Takeover with Carabas. We'll see you then.